introduced, my name is John. I'm an outreach officer at the University of Cumbria, and I've been asked along this evening to talk about writing a personal statement as part of your university UCAS application. So just a tiny quick introduction to my role. So my role is supporting, hopefully, you guys as students to consider courses here at the University of Cumbria and our offer, and consider that in terms of one of your choices and options going forward for your UCAS application, but also to support with university applications and questions that students might have in regards to their transition to higher education. So what we'll cover this evening will obviously be relevant to not only applying to University of Cumbria, but to applying across your UCAS application in regards to writing that personal statement. So what we'll be looking to cover this evening is thinking about what a personal statement is, then what to include in a personal statement, how and when to make a start, some tips and advice, and then what you can be doing next and what you can be thinking about. So I appreciate that people on the call this evening might be at varying different stages in regards to writing a personal statement in regards to that UCAS application cycle. So hopefully the information that we cover will serve as a really useful recap and reassurance to anybody who's in the process of writing that personal statement and has maybe looked into some of this kind of resource and content before. And for others, if you're kind of earlier on in that journey and starting to think about university applications and maybe applying in a future cycle, then hopefully some of this information will be of use to you going forward when you are looking to put together a personal statement in the future. So yeah, to make a start then, what we will make a start with is just really quickly talking about, well, what is UCAS? So hopefully those of you on the call have an understanding of what UCAS is, but just to really quickly go over, because it's important in terms of context as to writing your personal statement. The UCAS is essentially the University and Colleges Admissions Service. That's what it stands for. So not only is it the service that's used to make applications to undergraduate courses, so if you're in that undergraduate application cycle or will be in the future, then you'll register with UCAS and apply through UCAS. But it can also be the go-to place for research around any higher education courses, institutions, providers such as ourselves at the University of Cumbria. You'll find all kinds of information on the UCAS website regards course offer, campus information, links to, providers and institutes website like ourselves. So you can use the UCAS website for all kinds of research purposes as well. And it also has different bits of information on further education options, apprenticeship options, postgraduate study, that kind of thing as well. Now, UCAS is independently funded by applicant payments. So when you do make an application through UCAS, you pay an admissions administration fee for that processing of your application, and it's also supported with funding from higher education institutions such as ourselves. So in terms of what we're discussing this evening in regards to personal statements, well, a personal statement is part of your UCAS application. So as mentioned, some of you may already be on with that process of completing the different parts of your UCAS application and maybe already writing drafts, second drafts, final drafts of your personal statement. For others, as mentioned, you might be just on this call this evening thinking you're wanting to gain an understanding of what a personal statement is. So what a personal statement is a statement about you. So you can write up to 4,000 characters or 47 lines. You write it and it is about you as an individual. And essentially, it's used as your opportunity to sell yourself to an admissions team, to a university, and to that academic department. And what it does is it allows universities to select their students using something other than just an academic grade profile. So other parts of your UCAS application will include your current or previous education, so what you're currently working towards at sixth form or at college, or what you've studied previously, and your predicted grades or your achieved grades in those academic areas. And this allows you to give some personal addition to that in terms of what you're including in your UCAS application. So what you would look to include would be your skill set, your experiences, any interests in relation to the course, in addition to the courses that you're applying to. Now, people sometimes find writing a personal statement and thinking about a personal statement as quite a stressful experience about writing about themselves, about looking to sell themselves on a piece of paper, on a written text, and how do you do that? So hopefully some of what we talk through can help sort of alleviate some of that stress and that thought process that sometimes people have with writing a personal statement. And important to remember that you do only write one personal statement as part of your UCAS application. So again, some of you may be aware, if going through this process at the moment, as part of your UCAS application, you can apply for up to 5 choices. So 5 different universities, different courses at different universities if you wish to, but you do only write one personal statement, and that personal statement is distributed to all of your choices. So when you're writing it, you need to be conscious of that, but also hopefully it helps if you're thinking, well, I've got lots of different personal statements to write to different universities. You do only write one personal statement. Now, 4,000 characters, 47 lines. If you're writing assignments as part of coursework and different pieces of work for sixth form and for college, you might have an awareness and a grasp of that. But roughly, usually a personal statement is around a page, just over a page of A4 written text. So actually, it's not that huge. It's not a huge piece of written text that you're putting together. It's about yourself. Once we start talking about what to include and thinking about what to include, hopefully it's a case of you've got lots of notes, lots of things you can look to put into your personal statement, rather than staring at a blank screen and thinking, well, how am I ever going to make a start with this, and what will I include? So in thinking about what to include, and maybe again, some people will have some of this content in drafts if that's what the stage you're up to and are writing. But really, ultimately, the first and foremost thing you should be thinking about is, well, why should that university and that course that you're applying to look to choose you, look to make you an offer on their program, on their course at their university? So what is it about you as an applicant that stands out, that is different from another applicant, that puts you above those other applicants in regards to your application? So one real sort of strong starting point would always be your interest in that particular course area. So why is it that you're applying for the course that you're applying for? So is it because you have particular academic interests? Is it a subject you've always wished to study that you haven't been able to study until now? Is it something that you're interested in outside of school or college as well? Do you study relevant subjects in your A-level studies or your college studies at the moment? So really look to include that personal interest in the course area that you're applying to. And it might be that you have particular skills and achievements relevant to that academic area that you can talk about, from achievements at school and at college on your academic courses, but there might also be personal achievements that you want to include. So achievements and skills that you think are relevant outside of school or college as well. One I always find really important to include and to look to link in a strong way would be, what are your ambitions for the future and your motivation for applying to the course and for beyond the course? So obviously you're applying for a degree in a certain subject area of interest, but what do you see yourself doing in the future with that degree? If you're applying for a allied health course, do you see yourself working in a particular sector of healthcare, social care? Or if you're looking into applying to business, where do you see yourself working in the world of business? What do you see yourself doing in the future with your degree? And what that helps do is show to an academic team, show to an admissions team that you're thinking beyond just your current situation, that you have reason for applying for the degree and you've given that reason some thought, and you're going to be a really motivated student as you want to achieve as high as you can in your degree, so that you can go on to that future role or that future career area that you're looking into. And it might be that you've got already some current work experience, that might be part-time work or experience that you've gained alongside your studies. But again, you might have relevant life experience, work experience that you can look to include as part of your personal statement to really help highlight you as an individual. And as mentioned on the last slide, you might have particular hobbies and interests, again, that align to what you're wanting to apply to, and that, again, help really sell yourself as an interesting individual and as an interesting student for the university to look to. So always look to keep it related to you as a person. It is a personal statement, it is written by you, and it should always be about you as an individual. You're wanting to look throughout to demonstrate your strongest skills and personality. So always looking to think about your strongest skills and you as a person in anything that you're talking about, be that your academic studies, be that your work experience and placements outside of your academic studies. Where possible, link any strengths, any skill sets, any hobbies to the course or courses that you're applying to. And highlighted around the sort of diagram, the little chart there, are some things just to think about. There might be teams, clubs, societies that you're part of. You may play musical instruments, or there might be certain prizes or achievements you've had outside of school or college. And it's easy sometimes to dismiss some of this content and think, well, I work a part-time job, but it's not related to what I'm applying to. So I'm not going to talk too much about my experience with my part-time job. But actually, in your part-time job, you're highlighting that you can manage your, current studies alongside employment. It shows really strong work ethic. In your part-time job, you might work with people, you might work with others, you might have dealt with difficult customers if you work in a retail role or whatever it may be. And you've got those transferable skills and that evidence of those transferable skills from a role like that. Obviously, being members of teams and clubs and societies, the skills and personality traits that come with that. Or it might be that you play a musical instrument. And again, the work ethic and the dedication shown to obviously learn that skill set as well. So you can link some of those part-time those hobbies, those part-time jobs, those other interests to the courses that you're applying to in a less direct way, if you like, but you can still bring out your strengths as an individual in all of those activities that you take part in or things that you do outside of school or college as well. And then again, linking any experiences to the courses that you're applying to where possible. So in thinking about how to make a start, so again, some people may have already made a start and you might be beyond this stage. And again, it just serves as a bit of reassurance that you're on the right track with things. For others, you might be at that stage of starting to think about your personal statement and thinking, well, what on earth do I put together? Where do I make a start? So I would always look to gather your ideas first, rather than sitting at a blank screen on a laptop or on a tablet or on your piece of paper and thinking, I'm just going to write this straight away. Think about what you want to include. Different people work in different ways. You might just want to jot down lots of notes and lots of ideas in a kind of mind map strategy idea, or you might want to list certain course key areas, like your course area that you're applying to, like your ambitions and motivation, and bullet point different ideas, different lines, different words down under those headings, and then look to form into sort of some sentence structure and paragraph structure as you go forward. And discuss it with a friend or a family member or teachers at school or support members of staff at school or college. Always look to have a chat with somebody about your personal statement. It might be that you're not including something that they really see in you and they think you should be putting into your personal statement. They might be able to help you with structure or ways of laying it out or things to think about. So do always have a discussion with people around you and support services around you in regards to what you could be including in your personal statement. Although it is personal to you, they will be able to help. They will be able to offer that input and that support. So do always consider discussing it with somebody around you and making the most of the people around you. What you will sometimes see, and there's one sort of highlighted here, is different suggested layouts in terms of putting together a personal statement. On the UCAS website, there's a really useful sort of UCAS personal statement builder, where if you're struggling with how to make a start, what to include, there's set questions that you can look to answer. And as you're answering those questions, it will formulate for you a template, a draft personal statement for you to then work on and work around. And there's various different suggested layouts you'll see. One highlighted here, for example, of introducing your introduction to the subject and the aspects of why you're interested. So that might be in talking about what you're doing at the moment, the courses that you study on, why you're interested in what you're studying at the moment, and how that applies to what you're interested in applying to at degree level. It might be what you've done already in relation to the subject that maybe isn't necessarily on your UCAS form, such as that experience, that placement element, any discussions and awareness and research you have outside of school and college, and then various different things to include in additional paragraphs as well. What I would say with any sort of suggested layout, there's some top tips and advice from admissions teams, which we'll highlight in a couple of slides' time. But remember that it is personal to you. Sometimes on suggested layout resource, you will see different maybe percentages of talk about your interest in the subject for 20% of your personal statement, or talk about your work experience for 10-20% of your personal statement, which is a really useful guide for some people. But always remember that it is your own personal statement, and yours may be very different to the person next to you in school or in college or somebody else who's applied previously. So there isn't just one size that fits all for a personal statement where you'll write the exact same amount about the same content as somebody else does. So do remember that these are really useful guides, but how you structure your personal statement and how you lay it out is really up to you and your own personal choice. You might want to, for example, start with your goal of attending university and think to really include that at the start off and use that as a strong opening statement and relate back to that at the end of your sort of the end of your personal statement as a memorable closing comment. So there is more than one way to go about structuring your personal statement, and it is personal to you how you do that. But always use, you know, these suggested layouts and tools if you're really struggling of how to make a start and what to do in regards to getting content down on paper. So some advice in terms of helping you move forward and thinking about your personal statement, and some advice around the technicalities with your personal statement. Hopefully it goes without say, in you know, the same goes with all pieces of written work and coursework that you do for school and college. You are entitled to read examples. There will be examples that you can find online. If you visit university open days, sometimes you will find application stations where they hand out, you know, previous personal statements, anonymized personal statements that admissions teams have received for you to look over and have a think about. But hopefully it goes without say that please do not plagiarize any personal statements that you've, you know, read previously, or that you find online, or that you've know somebody who's applied in a previous cycle. UCAS use what's called a copy catch system, where if your personal statement flags at 10% or more, similar to another personal statement that they've previously processed, it will be flagged up for plagiarism, and that might be impactful on your application to your university choices. So hopefully that goes without say that you don't ever look to do that. So you might think that somebody, or they applied to the same course that I applied to, they went to the same school I went to, but a couple of years back, I'll look to use similar content from their statement. That wouldn't get past the copy catch system if you were looking to do that. So again, hopefully it goes without say, but do be aware that it will be something that flags up. Now, we've mentioned about strong and opening closing sentences, and we'll come on to that in the next slide. I would always look to just use a Word document, a processor, that you use for other pieces of written work, rather than typing straight into the UCAS text box online. It's obviously online on a web portal. You might lose your internet connection, you might get logged out, and then you would lose any work that you've been working on. So use a Word document, check over your work, have people read a draft, amend it, save it. Once you're happy with it, copy it over into the UCAS portal onto your application. Hopefully you'll all have sensible email addresses that you use. It is important to use a sensible email address. So if you do have daft different email addresses, do consider that you are writing a really professional piece of written work. You're looking to sell yourself to an admissions team, to a university that you want to be accepted on. And how does that personal statement align to an email address that you're using? And one piece of advice with that as well, do just consider that you will receive all of your UCAS updates, your information regards your offers, to the email address that you put down. So if you're using a school email address that you maybe have and you use at school or college at the moment, do make sure that you have access to that email address going forward into the summer, for example, through that application cycle, so that you can access your information and that you're getting sent out to you. And then in regards to your personal statement, just think about how different jokes and humor would come across. I mean, I personally would never look to include any jokes or humor in a written piece of text. You don't know how it's coming across. You don't know how the person reading it will receive it. Can you get across what you mean in the right way? So hopefully that's just something for people to avoid. In regards to quotes, some people want to highlight a particular quote that's motivational to them, or a reason why they're looking to be interested in what they're interested in. but do factor in that any quotes that you use or that you're referring to will obviously count towards that character count and that word limit. So really you want to be keeping it really focused about you and you as an applicant and why you're interested in what you're interested in, rather than using long pieces of long quotes and pieces of text that will take up that space. So do just factor that into your thought process as well. In terms of some final top tips, and on the next slide, we have some tips from admissions members of staff as well at different universities. But look to structure your information to reflect the skills and qualities the universities and colleges value the most. And what we mean by that is you can find out from visiting university websites, from going along to open days, from taking part in subject tasters, or going on to like I say, websites and looking at their program specification. What is it that the university are looking for on the, even down to the level of what the course offers, what the course academic team are looking for, what are their students like on the course, what have they studied previously, what experiences have they had previously. And you'll be able to find all of that information out as you do your research and as you're going through the application cycle. So you'll hopefully be able to use your personal statement to reflect those skills and qualities that the universities are looking for in their applicants. Obviously, throughout, you're looking to try and stand out, but do look to write an enthusiastic, a concise and natural style. And that is highlighted on the next slide as well. So in terms of what the experts say, this is actually taken from the UCAS website. So just, this month from the UCAS website, there's a section on there of that you can look into in your own time and find out more about what admissions teams are looking for in personal statements. But just a couple of quotes that I found was really interesting and aligns to what we've been talking about on this session is, you're interested in the course is the biggest thing. So start with why you chose it. So that would be one piece of advice from an admissions team. Be specific from line one. So thinking about talking in that concise style, thinking about being really specific to what it is you're applying to. For example, there again, another quote of don't waste time trying to think of a catchy opening. It's often a complete turn-off. So sometimes people put far too much thought into an opening line, an opening sentence. What am I going to write as my opening sentence? Rather than getting everything down on paper and thinking about that kind of thing afterwards of how it reads and how it flows once you've got those ideas down. So again, just some tips from what the expert admissions teams say across different universities. And you can find out more information about that on the UCAS website and have a look at different resources like that, which I'll highlight at the end here. So in terms of what happens to your personal statement next, once you've written your personal statement, once you've completed your UCAS application, you will submit your application and your school or college will attach a reference. So it's an important factor to consider in terms of when you're writing your personal statement. Yes, you want obviously to be your schools and colleges may know you already as a applicant, as a student, because you've been at a school or a college for a few years or studied on a program with them. But your tutor will read your personal statement and it will support them in writing that reference as well. So it'll help them understand what you're applying to, your reasoning for applying, and it will help them write that strong reference for you as well. So do factor that in and speak to your teachers and speak to your tutors about your personal statement, about what you're looking to include, about what you're hopefully wanting to apply for, so that they know for their reference content what they can look to obviously link and make relatable to that in regards to their academic reference. So you would submit your application and that reference would be attached, and then that would be sent through to UCAS. What UCAS then do is distribute your application along with your personal statement to your chosen universities. So each university will receive your personal statement and your application, and then the admissions teams at those universities will make a decision based on your academic profile, based on your UCAS application, your different parts of your UCAS application, as well as your personal statement. Now, if it's a course that you are applying to, if it's a course that interviews or possibly requires an audition, then you will be hopefully invited along to an interview or an audition where they might ask you more information about to elaborate more on your personal statement. So things that you write in your personal statement, it's important to, one, remember what you've put in, but two, obviously always be truthful and honest with the content that you're putting in, because if you are asked along to an interview or at a future stage of your application, it may be that your personal statement comes up in conversation and you can refer back to that, or you might want to have further conversations around content that you've included. So after that process, if you are interviewed or if your course doesn't require an interview, then a decision will be made and you'll be formally notified. So that might be a conditional offer based on you waiting to receive your A-level results or your college qualification, and you'll be notified in what's called UCAS track. So you would be formally notified, and that would then lead to you being in a position, hopefully, of being made some offers, all your offers, or a variety of offers for you to make decisions on and look to accept where you would like to study in the future, and then further on to enrolment and registration. So in terms of next steps and what to think about, always look to visit university web pages. So there's the Choose Cumbria link to our web page. So on our Choose Cumbria page, we don't just have information regards our university and our courses, but also follow-up content in regards to what we've talked to this evening about writing a personal statement, about how to apply, different bits of information on finance and related content such as that. Do look to, if possible, attend open days and explore different subject tasters that different universities will offer. Obviously, we're online this evening, which is fantastic, and we've still been able to run and deliver online sessions in the past 18 months, and as we are doing, continuing throughout this term and will do all academic year. But there's nothing quite like being on a university campus. We have various different open days throughout the academic year at our various different campuses. So you can visit the open days pages at various different, times of the year and find out about different events that are coming up, and look to explore different subject tasters such as masterclasses that we run, which would give you an insight into what academic study is like here at the University of Cumbria, give you an opportunity to meet university academics and find out more about what they're looking for in applicants, which in turn might help with writing your personal statement. So now that we are able to be on site and to be on campuses, do look to, where possible, getting along to different activity, different events on university campuses with the University of Cumbria if you're interested in applying to ourselves, so that you can look to make that informed decision on the courses that you're applying to. You'll have noticed that throughout the presentation, I've referred to UCAS and the resource on UCAS. It is a really useful website. It has lots of downloadable resource. You can watch various different video tutorials. There's links to, like I say, blogs from admissions members of staff to help you find out more about what universities are looking for and how to make a really strong application. And always look to access further support like you're doing this evening, attending a session such as this. Look to the support at school, at college, and further support as well through the universities that you're interested in applying to. Quite often students will think that because you haven't made an application yet, or because you're not sure where you're going to be applying to, or maybe what you're going to be applying to, you're unsure if you can contact a university. A university will always welcome any questions that you have about that university, about applying to that university at any stage that you're at in a university cycle. So do always look to get in touch. If you have any questions at all, you're welcome to obviously visit web pages, find out how to contact us, and always look to ask any questions that you do have. But what I've got on the screen here is just a little QR code that you'd be welcome to scan, and it would give you access to a digital support pack through us as the University of Cumbria. So you would be sent a digital UOC prospectus with information on our courses that are available. You'd have access to our inquiries hub, receive reminders about events such as those that I mentioned, the open days on Saturday and future open days. And there's different one-to-one application advice and support available as well. So if that was of interest to you, you hopefully be able to scan that with any device you have, use any software that you have, and it would take you to a link of how to sign up for that support pack through the University of Cumbria.